Welcome to the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with the support you need to finish your book. Best part is, after you finish your book, they take care of the entire publishing and marketing process 100% for you. So, if you want to become a successful author, make sure to check out authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Brett Umberg with us. He is a professional sailor, investor, and currently co-founder of Extracker, where he leads operations and sales. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Tyler.
Of course, man. Pumped to have you here. Let's jump into the first one, Brett. The first one I got for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. I'd say back when I started working, I was working at an investment bank for a few years and wanted to change. So I decided to quit that investment bank, flew over to Europe and decided to become a captain on sailboats in Greece, Croatia, Italy. And it's pretty scary because I thought I'm going to have a huge gap in my resume. I'm going to come back. It's going to be hard to find a job. But ended up getting back, and what I realized is super easy to find a job because of that experience. And kind of the takeaway is that the more interesting you are, the more successful you are. Doing unique experiences, being an expert in your field. And actually, after the fact, I heard a podcast. I think it was Eric Schmitz from Google who said, they built an algorithm to find out why people are successful at Google. And one of the things it pointed at was being interesting. So that was kind of a unique experience that I didn't think was going to happen from that trip.
Oh, very cool. And then what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Yeah, I would say being comfortable with rejection. Not only being comfortable with it, but really embracing it. As soon as that happens, you're so much more confident. Whether it's a sales call, asking your boss for promotion, talking to investors, or even asking a girl on a date, if you go into that conversation with the confidence and the insight to not be afraid of rejection, those conversations are going to go much, much better.
And what is your best piece of, I could tie in, but what is your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Yeah, I'd say just really make sure you're always growing. To me, stagnation is really what kills people. You always have to be pushing yourself, doing stuff you're not ready for, even, taking jobs you're unqualified for. A couple of jobs I've had I thought was way over my head, and that's really how you grow. That feeling where you wake up with butterflies in your stomach or you're super nervous to do something, to me that means that you're growing, and I'd say that's one of the better pieces of advice that I got and try to do daily.
And then if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I'd say just take more risks when you're younger. When you're young, your opportunity costs are the lowest they'll ever be. I had a conversation with this guy, Paul Orfala, who started Kinko's in the senior year of college, and he asked, what's your plan? And I told him my plan was to work for 5 to 8 years and get some experience and then try to start something on my own. He basically said, you're doing it all wrong. Just go ahead and start that company. Take those risks because now's the time to do it. And yeah, I have lots of friends who have high paying jobs. They have houses, they have children, where they don't really have the opportunity to take those risks any longer. So take them young when you can.
And then kind of going a little bit down a different path. In your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Yeah, the way I look at happiness is it's pretty simple, really. There's just two choices that you have to make in your life. A career that you're happy with is your one choice, and then a significant other that you're happy with as well. Because you spend half your life working and pretty much your other half with your family. So if you can figure out those two choices, that'll ultimately lead to a happy life, and everything else will pretty much fall into place.
And then what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
I read a book called Anti-Fragile a few years ago. The author was Nassim Taleb, who he also wrote The Black Swan, also a great book. But he just has a super interesting perspective. And basically what the book's about is, there's really nothing that is opposite of fragile. There's nothing that really grows stronger from volatility, the craziness. And so he coined the word anti-fragile. So, for example, your muscle is a great example of something that's anti-fragile. When you stress it out, the muscle tears and it comes back stronger. And kind of my takeaway is to be a leader, to be successful. You really have to be able to thrive in uncertainty and in crazy times, and not only survive, but grow stronger in those environments. And that was really my kind of key takeaway from that book.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
Yeah, it's a pretty cliche and cheesy quote, but Wayne Gretzky said it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Or if you watch The Office, it's a Michael Scott quote. But again, it just comes back to taking risks, putting yourself out there, really not being afraid of rejection. Kind of what the stuff I said earlier. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd say that's my favorite quote.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you before we let you go is, where can our audience best find you online?
Yeah, so I'm still updating my personal website, revamping it. So right now I would just say LinkedIn, search Brett Umberg, probably the easiest way to find me.
Perfect, man. Thanks again for jumping on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.